Hey, I'm Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We look at life through a biblical lens. We generally solve all the world's problems in 2 hours or less. We'd love for you to join us live. If you can't do that, then of course you can do it online, YouTube, or go to the website, thebibleforum.net. There's a screen at the bottom right-hand side. It'll be showing you last week's stuff. A lot of people, I understand, do that. They don't watch me. They watch the football game or whatever they do, and then they check out everything later, and that's fine. Doctors have been told to refer to expectant mothers as pregnant people. That way they don't offend the transgenders. This was issued in official guidelines by the British Medical Association. The controversial advice appears in a 14-page booklet on something called inclusive language in the workplace, which also rules that terms like biologically male and biologically female are problematic. It instructs doctors instead to say that the individual was assigned male or female at birth. The union's new guidelines come just weeks after it emerged that a British woman, in the process of transitioning gender, put her operation on hold to have a baby. She was going to have surgery to make her look like a man, and she had to quit that and go and have her baby. 775,000 women give birth in Britain every year, yet there are no other known cases of people in the process of transitioning ever becoming pregnant. But don't let that bother you. Despite those kinds of statistics, the agency that governs these things in Great Britain demands that the word mothers be dropped from doctors' vocabularies in relation to pregnancy because it's offensive to transgender people, and in order to celebrate diversity, we should do this. The booklet says, quote, a large majority of people that have been pregnant or have given birth identify as women. However, that is silly on the face of it. Who else could have a baby? However, there are some intersex men and trans men who may get pregnant. Only if they're women. We can include intersex men and trans men who may get pregnant by saying pregnant people instead of expectant mothers. Marijuana advocates in this country think the drug and its compounds are therapeutic for everything from treating glaucoma to stopping nightmares, but a new systematic review of more than 10,700 scientific studies conducted by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine found verifiable benefits for only two disorders: chronic pain and the nausea and vomiting caused by chemotherapy. Despite growing support for legalization efforts, the review found numerous and serious health and social consequences for marijuana use. I learned of one, not by taking the drug, but when I worked with the police department. I found out that people who smoke marijuana cannot judge distances accurately. It affects your eyes in some way, and they blame it on other things. But they have found that a large percentage of these things are no doubt from marijuana, and it doesn't show up in a breathalyzer. The report simply adds to the mountain of evidence that marijuana is a serious danger to public health and safety. The industry has been selling a false narrative, according to this report, that marijuana is not harmful nor addictive. In some cases, the researchers found wide disparities between patient claims and physician-verified benefits. For example, when the committee studied the use of cannabis to treat muscle stiffness and spasms from multiple sclerosis, it found strong support for the drug's effectiveness based on patients' self-reporting symptoms. But when the committee considered only studies based on physician reports, the evidence disappeared. Do you know what a chimera is? Pushing the boundaries of medical ethics, scientists announced last week they have created the first successful human-animal hybrid. They introduced human cells into a pig. Now, you do know pigs are very close to humans in a lot of ways. They did this looking to harvest transplantable organs for humans, motivated by the fact that every 10 minutes a person is added to the national waiting list for organ transplants, while every day 22 people die on those lists because of a shortage of transplantable organs. The University of Maryland School of Medicine set out to overcome the high probability of rejection through its creation of chimeras. A chimera is an organism that contains cells and DNA of two different species, in this case the human and the pig. Experiments like this are currently ineligible for public funding in the United States, but for lead study author Jun Wu of the Salk Institute, he told National Geographic that scientists need only to look to mythical chimeras for a different perspective. In ancient civilizations, he says, chimeras were associated with God. He says our ancestors thought the chimeric form would guard humans. In a sense, he says that's what the team hopes, that the human-animal hybrids will guard us one day. Now, there are two ways to make a chimera. The first is to introduce the organs of one animal into another. But that demonstrates and has demonstrated a very risky proposition, because the host's immune system will likely cause the organ to be rejected. The other method is to begin at the embryonic level, introducing one animal's cells into the embryo of another and letting them grow together into this hybrid. And then when that organ is transplanted, the human very well may not reject it. Do you know what an avatar is? I know, you saw the movie. This is a little bit different. This is not about a movie. This is about a real life. Researchers at the National Center for Border Security and Immigration at the University of Arizona, which is the Department of Homeland Security, Science, and Technology, are developing and testing an interactive screening technology that aids border crossers and travelers. If a border crosser or a traveler interacts with one of these interactive screening technology thingies, and they begin to exhibit suspicious or anomalous behavior, they can be flagged for further investigation. They call them avatars because of the wording, the automated virtual agent for truth assessments in real time. Now, people sit around and come up with this stuff because they want these little words to be formed as a result. The avatars are designed to assist human screeners as they manage the nation's borders. Here's how it works. Individuals approach the avatar. The avatar then scans their identification, and the people are then given the opportunity to answer a few questions that are posed by the virtual agent. It's a recording. An operator using the avatar can choose one of several virtual agents. This thing can be male, it can be female, it can be stern, it can be friendly, and the operator can modify that based on the person's response or what they look like or how they're interacting or whatever. But they're customizing language, terminologies, things like that, to try to keep people at peace. Based on how the individual responds, the avatar's suite of built-in sensors provides a risk assessment score and identities. No, they don't make decisions. Those individuals who require closer investigation are tagged by the avatar, and they undergo a secondary screening with a human field agent. Now, apparently, there are hundreds of psychophysiological and behavioral cues that we give to people every time we move, breathe, or talk. Body language, vocal intonations, cardiorespiratory changes, eye behavior, and on it goes. For example, a high-resolution camera captures facial expressions. Eye trackers detect pupil dilation, and high-frequency microphones assess vocal quality. You fuse all these together, and it increases the probability of detecting these deceptive behaviors. The advantages to this is that it really is a non-invasive technology that is providing real-time feedback on site. Unlike humans who can become fatigued or distracted, the avatar can work 24 hours a day, and every interview is done at its peak. And it's done without bias. The avatar can screen for cues that are not perceptible by human senses. A human screener can operate multiple avatars simultaneously, freeing these people up for other things, mission critical tasks as they word them. In 2012, researchers collaborated with U.S. Customs and Border Protection to test Avatar system in the field. In a 2-month pilot study in Nogales, Arizona, travelers were already enrolled in the Trusted Travelers program and then volunteered to be screened by the Avatar. There are just a few more checks before Avatar is ready for duty along the southern border. What will you do when you run in to what looks like a human being, but it's really just a screen, and he or she is talking to you just as pleasant as can be? It ought to be interesting. Where does that take us? We don't really know, do we? It's technology in motion, and the technologies are racing ahead of us at mind-boggling speeds. We can't keep up. Our kids will, good or bad.